Happy Friday. How you doing? Well, normally on Friday I do my week end roundup review, but I think I pretty much did that yesterday. And I think I kind of knew it at the time. Got a text. Hold on a second. I know this is being rude. I admit, I know it's being rude, interrupting, to look at a text. It is of importance when I was expecting. But it's not as rude as if I was sitting there jamming food in my fucking mouth and spitting on the floor, you know what I'm saying? I give myself some credit, some degree of manners and class, you know what I mean? Uh, so anyway, I said today I'd get into, I know you probably don't give a fuck shit. Just shut this off right now. It won't concern you. I think it's only concerned the people that live here in this area and in New England. In one case, New England, because it's someone that's very well known and recognized in public due to his involvement in sports. And I know the guy. We're not good friends, but I say, we're friendly when we run into each other, and we've run into each other many times through the years, going back many years. He's a pretty decent guy, very well known. He does a lot for the community. Anyway, I'll get to the bad news first. Like I said, firstly, New Year's Eve, I found out that a lot of people here, New Bedford and surrounding communities were not very happy with the first night celebration down at the waterfront in the historic district, where it's a big thing, You have all bands in the street and shit, and even though it's fucking cold. A few years ago, everything went down the shitter. It rained like hell. They even canceled the fireworks. They had it like the following weekend or something, but the moment was gone. It wasn't the same, They have a barge out in the harbor and shoot off the fireworks. Well, and a lot of surrounding communities are Acushnet, Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, Marion, Freetown, Lakeville, Assonet. They don't have any celebrations there, so they kind of come to New Bedford here. And they have a barge out in the harbor and they shoot off a lot of fireworks. It's usually pretty nice. Well, this year, somebody got the brainstorm that. I don't know if it was a money-saving cost factor, whatever. But anyway, they had a drone display. Drones with LED lights. I've seen on TV, videos. Hundreds of these. I guess they program them. They fly in unison. They make displays and they're LED, different colored lights. Anyway, I guess it did not go over very well with people here. They're like, what the fuck? We want to see fireworks. We don't want to see this shit. We don't want to see fucking drones. We want to see fireworks. Anyway, that did not go over very well for their first night celebration back home here. And I think I mentioned yesterday a couple of bad things happened and one good thing. I'll get the bad things out of the way. Both of them concern alcohol consumption and what happens. I've had my experience with a drunk driver, so has my oldest daughter. But New Year's Day in the afternoon on Route 140, that route actually starts here in New Bedford at the west end near Butler Park. It runs all the way up to Taunton, where it goes into Route 28, and then that branches out into I-95 and Route 1. Route 1 takes you into Boston, points north, New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, Canada. And 140 is a pretty busy highway. It's 3 lanes north, 3 lanes south. 80 miles an hour is your average speed in there, You're going along at 70, 75, and, cars are passing you. You want to stay with the forward traffic, drive 80 miles an hour on Route 140. As long as you're not weaving and doing crazy shit. You're going 80, 85, fucking state clock was on, your flashes lights for to pull over so you can go by, and he keeps right on fucking going. They're like, as long as you're staying in your lane, they'll leave you alone. Anyway, it's a pretty busy highway, and it's in the afternoon. 23-year-old woman with a 3-year-old child. Fortunately, her child was not with her at the time. And she's going along, and I guess her car broke down or something. She pulls over to the breakdown lane. People usually, they get out, they're looking around, see what's wrong, And the guy come flying down the fucking breakdown lane, drunk. Went right into her. Killed her. Her car got kicked out into the oncoming traffic, caused a 5-car pile of 2 people were critically injured. They had to be airlifted to a hospital. 3 more were seriously injured. They were able to be taken by ambulance. It was a fucking mess. Fucking mess because of a drunk driver. And this is the one that really stunned everyone here. Over the last 5 years, we've had some issues concerning our fire department. Our fire chief one day up and resigns. No reason, up and resigns, and he didn't even tell anybody. He just didn't show up for a few days, and they find out they go to contact. He had fucking moved to Florida, took off, and no one even knew where the fuck he was living. He just took off to Florida in parts unknown. Then it came out later. He was under investigation for embezzlement of funds because he was in charge of everything, approving overtime for firefighters and whatnot. And I think the EMTs are also included in our fire department here. They're covered under the same umbrella. They work in unison with each other. And I guess he had been embezzling close to $200,000 over a period of a few years, approving overtime for himself and friends of his on the fire department that were not putting in overtime. He was robbing overtime money for himself and a few select friends that were firefighters on the department. And he was being investigated, and he knew the hammer was going to come down on him. So he fucking leaves, So they put an interim fire chief, Paul Cordero. He was a firefighter. He had worked his way up to like lieutenant captain. They got their rank system. Anyway, they appointed him as interim fire chief until they, got a permanent one. But this guy had a reputation of, being a drunk. Even when he was, a low-tier firefighter, they said at times he'd show up at scenes, and he was kind of like as useless as tits on a bull. He had a hangover, or he was a little under the influence at that time. And for whatever reason, the fire chief at that time, the former one that quit, kind of liked him, so he overlooked a lot of his bullshit, Anyway, he becomes interim fire chief. And now he was about to get terminated because of his drinking, because now he was doing it even more as a fire chief. He was shirking his responsibilities. And so he was already told he had so much time left, they were looking for a new replacement for him, and he was going to be gone. So before that happened, he ups and quits, himself. So, like I said, he liked to drink. Well, anyway, this was a week ago today, last Friday. And it was early, like right around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, around supper time. And he was at the Bayside Lounge. And that place, like the Knuckleheads, has kind of a reputation. It's not as bad as it used to be back in the day. Not as bad as it used to be. It's still certain nights with certain types of us that are there. Let's just say it's not very family oriented on certain nights of the week that you don't want to go there with your wife and kids. But it's okay. Well, the Bayside Lounge is a real fucking sleaze pit. It's not bikers, nothing. It's just fucking drunks. Just fucking asshole drunks. There's always fights and always some bullshit, Cops are always being called there. Anyway, Paul goes there and he's drinking all fucking afternoon. And people know who he is. Like people know who our mayor is, who our fire chief is, who our police chief is, People know, the public knows them. Their names have been in the paper, pictures, this, that, local news. Anyway, Paul's there getting fucking hammered. So the bartender says, hey man, you've had enough. So the bartender shuts him off. Paul wasn't too happy about that. Starts a bunch of shit with the bartender. But look, I'll give you coffee, soda, water on the house free, but I'm not serving you anymore. Bars can't be held liable these days. If you know someone's had enough and you keep serving them and they go out and do something, no, you can be held liable. Anyway, then he starts shit with other fucking people there. So the bartender says, hey, I think you better fucking leave. Listen, just leave. He starts giving the bartender more shit. Bartender grabs his phone, calls 911, calls the cops. A few minutes go by. Paul, oh, fuck you. And he starts yelling and screaming at everybody in the bar. Walks out, gets outside. And there are people now coming in and gets in his fucking car. He fucking whips through the parking lot. A guy's pulling in, fucking slams right into his fucking car. The guy gets out. What the hell's the matter with you, man? Fucking drunk or what? What's the matter with you? Well, you just did. Paul gets out, starts giving him some shit, starts threatening him. So just then the cops had already been called, about a good 10 minutes earlier. Now 2 cops show up, and they know him. A lot of firefighters know police officers and vice versa. Paul, what's the matter with you, man? Calm down. And now Paul starts yelling and screaming at the 2 cops. Paul, come on. And they're like trying to talk to him, trying to calm down the situation, So they think, things are calming down. Paul kind of like gets kind of quiet. goes back to his car, opens the door, and leans in. When he comes back out of his car, he's got a fucking gun. He shoots the 2 fucking cops. Now, they wear their vests, but that only protects your vital organs. You get hit in the face, the head, arms, legs, ass, groin. Shoots both fucking cops. Got one in the shoulder. This was with a Glock. And one in the fucking thigh. They both go down. They're calling an officer down, officer down. Now this situation is totally out of fucking control. Now people in there, they're hearing the pop. And some of them have gone outside because they heard the argument outside. People are fucking scattering, running. Well, within about a minute, a third cop shows up. In the meantime, Paul starts heading like he's going to go back into the bar, and he's got the fucking gun. And now anybody that's in the bar, they're fucking running for cover. Running out the back and exit and fire escape doors. Everybody, that place fucking cleared out. Third cop shows up. The third cop wasn't about to be caught off guard like his other 2 officers. He already knew the situation, what was going down. When he got out, he had his fucking weapon drawn. And he knew him too. Paul, put your gun down. Paul, I don't want to have to shoot you. This went on for 5 minutes. A good 5 minutes. Him trying to talk down the situation without having to fucking shoot someone. And Paul's arguing. Then Paul started to calm down a little bit. And he figured, well, the situation getting better. Officer made a mistake. But a mistake that cost Paul his life in the end. And so the whole time, eyewitness, Paul's got his gun pointed right at the officer. And the officer's pointing back like a fucking Mexican standoff. And they're like, 15 feet apart. They're not that far apart from each other. The officer's by his car. Paul's by his car. Paul starts to put his gun down. And it starts to turn like he's going to turn away from the officer. So the officer puts his gun down. As soon as the officer puts his gun down, Paul whips around, bang, fires a shot at the fucking third cop. It missed him by fucking inches, went right into the fucking door of his car. The officer didn't hesitate. Pop, one shot, caught him right in the chest, fucking killed him right there. So that was kind of shocking news, Now on the good side of things, and this is where I'll talk about sports, and I'll talk about baseball in particular because it concerns a baseball player, a well-known baseball player, Major League Baseball player, no minor league. When you hear Major League Baseball player, well, somebody says I played professional baseball. What teams come to mind? Red Sox, Yankees, White Sox, Angels, Pirates, Padres, Rangers. You know what I mean? These are the teams you think of when you hear someone play professional baseball. This is what comes to mind, Major League Baseball. If I said to you, Mud Hens, you might know who the Toledo Mud Hens are if you happen to watch MASH, because Klinger was from Toledo, and you should talk about his Toledo Mud Hens, a minor league team. You ever heard of the Tarpons? Not tampons, Tarpons. You ever heard of the Gems? You ever heard of the Patriots? And I can go on and on with a whole slew of names from A-ball, which is the real lowest tier of minor league baseball. Then you get your AA, then you get AAA. In between these 3 divisions in minor league baseball, I can't say amateur because if you get paid to do something, then you can say you're a professional. That's true. You can say you're a professional. It's not a very good professional. You never played at the top tier of that sport. You were in the lower, real low ranks. But you get paid. They don't get paid much. I know in amateur ball, the lowest tier, A-ball, guys that get $3, $4, maybe $5,000 a year. If you're pretty decent in AAA ball, you can make upwards of $15 to $18, sometimes $20,000 a year. It's not big money. You know what I mean? But you're getting paid. You can call yourself professional. You're just not a top player. These are guys that aren't recognizable in public. But some guys like this guy and others, see them out in public. Hey, there's, you recognize a Major League Baseball player. Minor League Baseball players are a dime a dozen. Only about 8% of them, 5 to 8% ever make it up to the big show, as it's called. You know what I mean? This guy's a Major League Baseball player. A real good guy, and he's well known in the community since he got out of baseball. And he ended up getting out of baseball due to an injury, but he was in for several years. And he got a couple of injuries, and he was like, nah. I played enough. He made some money. established a pretty respectable name for himself. And he wanted to get into other activities remaining in sports. He became a director with volunteer youth organization. Actually, I'll go through his biography for you. And he's been honored on several occasions for his activity. He runs a baseball camp, volunteers this time, working with kids from T-ball, Pee Wee, Little League, Pony League, high school, anyone else that wants to get involved. And he gets former players, Red Sox players. He had a few Yankees come down over the years. But guys, you know, to work with kids, and they volunteer their time. You can't get active players because in the summer they're during their season. So he gets retired and former players that now they're free. You know, he's had Trot Nixon come down, good outfielder for the Red Sox. He could hit for power. He had players come in from different positions to work with different kids that wanted to play different positions in baseball. Yeah, Trot Nixon, outfielder. Call him the dirt dog, man. Real hard-nosed. Third inning of every game, his uniform was a fucking mess. Head first dives. He could chase down any ball. He could hit for power. For infielding, he had Jerry Remy, great second baseman. He played his whole career with the Sox for like 15 years. He went on to become a broadcaster. And for the Red Sox network, covering all their games on TV and radio. Got Tim Wakefield. In fact, it said Tim died recently within a couple of years. He wasn't that old, like 49, to get a stroke or something. Tim Wakefield, a well-known knuckleballer for the Red Sox, was with them for a long time. I can't think of the catcher right now. What the fuck is his name? Oh, he was with them when they won the World Series. I can't think of his name right now. He had him come down, a retired player, to work with kids that wanted to learn how to catch. And they taught them how to play their positions, especially with Remy. He wasn't a big power hitter, but he knew how to hit through the gaps. He knew how to hit through the infield, find the gaps in outfield, bat control. Trot Nixon could teach him how to hit for power, how to get your swing into what you turn from, batting technique. He got players from different positions to work with kids that liked to play those positions himself. And he's done that for several years and continues to do it. Anyway, I got to put my reading glasses on because I can't see small shit. Anyway, he was honored again. And Brian Rose. His biography here. Now, this is Major League Baseball. Not minor league shit. And he's kind of modest. He doesn't even talk about it. If you didn't know who he was and you're talking to him, you run into him. Hey, I played professional baseball, like some people. Hey, I played professional baseball. Ask them what team they played on. See if they'll even give you a straight answer. I asked the guy one time, told me he was a professional baseball player. Oh, really? What team do you play for? And he avoided the subject. Then I find out he was in minor league ball for a few years, But true, you got paid, you're a professional. When I say a professional baseball player, how many of you think a minor league? Come on, be honest. How many of you know any minor league players? You mention a lot of major league players from many different teams, depending on what part of the country you're in, what teams you follow, what major league teams you follow. These names and people are recognizable in public. Minor league, not so much. Minor leagues still get used at times. When one of their players gets injured, they're out and they send them down to their AA or AAA ball for a few games to rehab them, work them out until they're back in playing shape to come back up to the major league level parent team. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. Professionalism doesn't mean they're all the same. Professional baseball player, major league player, not a minor league player. But some people, whatever, Brian Rose biography. He was honored again. This was this was in the local newspaper. It was in the news. Showed him with the Bristol County District Attorney and Bristol County Sheriff being honored again for his work he does with people. Brian Rose was born in New Bedford. Give our local boys a shout out here. Brian Rose was born in New Bedford and currently resides in Dartmouth, Mass. Neighboring town right across the harbor. Brian currently manages his own baseball company, Brian Rose Baseball, and also works for the Bristol County District Attorney's Office for Community Affairs Division, acting as volunteer coordinator, free youth sports clinic director, and neighborhood liaison. Brian began his professional career with Boston Red Sox organization after being their second pick in the June 1994 draft, making his major league debut with the Boston Red Sox in 1997. What's kind of funny in minor league ball, I think the Red Sox are the only team that their AAA team are called the Red Sox, Pawtucket Red Sox, next to Rhode Island in Pawtucket. In fact, their stadium, McCoy Stadium, I heard it's being demolished. They're going to build them a new stadium in Warwick. But a lot of other teams, I think one of these teams, the Top-Ons, Tampa Bay Devil Rays, that's their minor league team. They're not, Top-Ons. I say Top-Ons. Who the fuck are they? I guess if you live in Tampa, that area, you might know. Nobody else knows. I mean, you say Tampa Bay Devil Rays, any part of the country, anyone that follows baseball, you know what they're talking about. You know who they are. You know who some of their players are, especially their standout star players, pitchers, hitters, whatever, Brian began his professional career with the Boston Red Sox organization after being their second pick in the June 1994 draft, making his major league debut with the Boston Red Sox in 1997. During his stellar 1997 campaign with the Pawtucket Red Sox, AAA, Brian led the league with 17 wins and a 3.02 ERA and was voted most valuable pitcher and rookie of the year for the International League. Brian was also selected as a starter in the AAA All-Star Game, in which he was the winning pitcher. On April 19, 1998, he became the first Boston rookie to pitch the home opener at Fenway Park since Jim Bagby Jr. in 1938. 3 years later, Brian was traded to the Colorado Rockies. It happens. Players do get traded. He got traded a few times, but every time he got traded, he went from major league to major league, never back down to minor league. Some guys that play minor league played on 2-3 different teams. They got traded, but they went from minor league to minor league to minor league. They never made it to the big show. They never made it to the major league level. 3 years later, Brian was traded to the Colorado Rockies of the National League, along with Jeff Fry and John Wasden and Mike Lansing, Rolando Arroyo, and Rick Crushmore. He was immediately inserted into the Rockies rotation for the final 2 months and went 6-6, 12 starts. 2001, Brian also pitched in the major leagues for the New York Mets, Tampa Bay Devil Rays. So he played on 4 major league teams, all major league teams. The only minor league team he ever played on was the Pawtucket Red Sox for a brief period before he got called up to the Boston Red Sox. And he stayed in Major League Baseball until he got out. And he had got a few injuries along the way. And he, like I said, he wanted to get involved in other things. He's been very successful at. And he's an all-around good guy. He doesn't brag on himself. Doesn't even tell people, People recognize him, though, People, especially that follow sports. Brian started 54 games at the major league level and has a total of 68 career appearances. Posted a record of 76-49. Now, that's something to be a little proud of, What's best about this guy is the work he does with people. And he does a lot of work with the Sheriff's Department. A lot of young people, very good in sports. Standout high school athletes in basketball, football, baseball. We had a couple guys that played for the Whalers. Every team for New Bedford High, the Whalers, were the whaling city. Whaling capital of the world at one time. Herman Melville wrote Moby Dick here, I like to brag on the city. There's a lot of history here. And they make that one stupid mistake. You know what I mean? I'm going to run a little long on here because, it's been a while. I'm playing some catch up and I'm probably boring the fuck out of you, but people here in the city found these things interesting. If Sanford can have his fucking story time, why can't I? So, but I'm not glorifying myself. I'm talking about others that, are worthy of respect, and unfortunately some sad events that happened due to people's personal behavior with alcohol and drugs and shit like that. I went to the Bedford High. We had a few hockey players, Whalers, that ended up playing for the Bruins minor league farm system, but never made it up to the big show in NHL hockey. They floundered for a few years too, got traded here and there, and finally gave up after like 5, 6, 7 years. And age catches up to you. The older you get now, health-wise and whatnot, the older you get and you're lingering in the mind, as chances are, if you ever made it by then, by the time you're up around, age 30, forget it. Forget it, So anyway, there's this guy that we knew. He was a pretty cool guy, Mike Richards. He's a big name quarterback, New Bedford Vocational Regional Technical High School. And big star quarterback, high school. He won all kinds of awards. He had all kinds of colleges coming after him, free scholarships for that. And one guy that probably I'd say he had a realistic shot if he succeeded in college as well as he did in high school. A guy that probably could have maybe made it to the NFL one day, Oh, that went out the fucking window. His father was a businessman. He owned a chemical company and used to take a lot of trips to China. He had dealings with businesses in China at the time. And his father went on a fucking trip with his mother to China for like 2 weeks. Anyway, he had a party one night at the house. And took his father's car out. His father had a nice fucking Lincoln Continental. And he had a bunch of guys at the house, and he was underage. At the time, drinking age was 18. But, I used to get into clubs and shit when I was 15 and 16. I was always kind of hairy, so I had a goatee and mustache and shit. And I could pass for, 18. A lot of places didn't card you like they weren't that strict on it then. As long as you didn't look like a little fucking kid, you could buy liquor and shit. Anyway, get some people at his house. They start running along beer. He tells his friend, come on, let's go to the package store. They jump in his father's car. Go to the package store, and it was raining really hard. And a lady was crossing the street. And he had been drinking quite a bit himself. Fucking hit her and killed her. And they say her body flew like 50 or 60 feet. And he was speeding down Ashley Boulevard. It's a long stretch, not a whole lot of cars there. Not a whole lot of houses either. Anyway, he kept going, he took off. And no one saw him. His father's car's fucked up in the front. It had a good whack in it from hitting the lady. She was like 62 years old. And anyway, he's all worried about he's going to get the car fixed for his father gets back. He's asked him what happened. A couple of days later, he gets it at a body shop. They didn't ask any questions. The car got fixed. But he couldn't live with himself. He said his conscience was eating at him. And he said when he was out, because he had his own car, but his father had that nice Lincoln. His father didn't like letting him drive it. So he figured, father's gone, I'm going to take his fucking Lincoln out. And that's why he did it. He said every time he'd be out in his car driving, he'd see a cop go by or a cop would pull alongside. And he said, Brian, I was so fucking paranoid. I was having nightmares at night. In my sleep, I'd wake up, the cops are at the door. My parents need to see a son. He's being charged with vehicular homicide. He says it was a living nightmare. I couldn't take it anymore. And he walked into the police station like about I think about a month and a half later. He turned himself in. Anyway, he ended up going to jail. Went to jail for 2.5 years for vehicular homicide, leaving the scene of an accident. And then his driver's license was like revoked for like a 10-year period. All his dreams of, college football and maybe to the pros, all that was gone because of one stupid mistake. And that's what Brian does with a lot of inmates at the Bristol County House of Correction. There were a lot of young people in there that had something going for themselves in sports and get involved with the wrong crowd. They're with that wrong crowd one night. One of them's got a gun. They were involved in shit, drugs, booze, crime. Everything's gone. They're serving a year and a half, or 2 years, for stuff that a little less, violent nature. And he works with them. He gets them back involved in sports, kind of give them, so that it's easy to go back to the life they came from that would put them back in jail where they were. And a lot of them, unfortunately, end up back again. And he gets them to volunteer their time. They help them to get jobs. But he likes to keep them involved in the sport, working with kids at Little League. A lot of them have become volunteer umpires for the Little League organization around here. A lot of them have gone on to be baseball coaches at regional high schools throughout the area. Football coaches, assistant coaches, equipment managers, anything to do with sports with young people. It keeps them active in the sport, and any skill they have, they can help teach and pass it along the way Brian does with these guys, you know. I still can't think of that catcher's name. He was one tough motherfucker. The one where they were playing the fucking Yankees. And what's his face got a fucking hit running on the first base? Fucking A-Rod. Knocks the fucking ball out of his fucking... A-Rod knocks the ball out of his glove. Jason Varitek. Jason Varitek, the right fucking A-Rod's face, man. I loved it. I fucking loved it. It was fucking Yankees. A-Rod's a fucking dick. Anyway. But, he's had Dustin Pedroia. Fucking great shortstop for the Red Sox. Dustin Pedroia has come and worked in his summer camp with Brian. You know, he gets how these guys want to pass along their skill and learning to others. Brian's got people that aren't even involved in any professional baseball or sport to work with even younger people to keep them active, you know. And I know it was a guy I used to hang around with years ago. Real good guy. And his life took a turn for the worse too. And this guy had it all. We got a boxing clinic down here, Manny Burgos House of Champions. And he's put out a lot of good fighters through the decades. A lot went on to be Golden Glove winners. Many turned pro. And one guy in particular, you know, Scott Pemberton, the Sandman. They called him the Sandman because he got a right hand. He connected with that right hand. He put you to fucking sleep. They called him the Sandman. And we were pretty friendly many years ago. Real good guy. He went on to win Golden Gloves, New England Golden Gloves, and a lot of other titles in amateur ranks. And then he turned pro. And he did well. He held 3 world titles, WBA, WBO, and 3 weight divisions, welterweight, super welterweight, and middleweight. He had it all, money, beautiful girl, got married, became his wife, and this and that. And then after a few years, he started hanging around with the say the wrong crowd. He found himself getting in some trouble involving drugs, and a gun was involved, and went to prison for 5 years. And I remember when he got out, I ran into him. Hey, how you doing, Scott? What are you doing? Working construction in Fall River. It's our sister city. For a foundation company, bricklaying, cement work, rebar, you know, foundations, you know. When he got out of prison, 5 years had passed already. I think he did try to get back into boxing. He got set up for one fight because he still had a name. And they hooked him up with a couple of guys that were like up-and-comers. And already now 5 years, and for a boxer, 5 years away from the ring, all their skills get diminished. You know, you're 5 years older. Age is caught up to you, you know. Your skills have diminished. You've been out of the ring, not even training, sparring, nothing. And they just want to, because he was a name, they try to pair him up against some up-and-coming guy, figuring, you know, if he can beat Scotty, he can make a name for himself. Well, Scott took on 2 fights. He got his ass kicked both times. He made some good money, but he got his ass kicked bad both times. And he just finally said, that's it, you know, and he officially retired. And he works as a brick laborer and doing cement work and mason work for a construction company over in Fall River, Massachusetts, you know. That one thing. Those 5 years he spent in prison, he could have been a little more productive in the ring and made even more money. But then what happened was, you know, he had pissed away a lot of that money. His wife left him. 2 kids wanted nothing to do with him. Lost his home. He lost all the respect he had in the boxing community. You know what I mean? But he was a professional. He held world titles. You know, world titles, not just Golden Gloves titles. Even that. I was a Golden Gloves champion. Okay. Were you the WBC, WBA, WBO? Were you any of the... Oh, no, I didn't hold any of those pro titles. You know, professionalism does have its disparity. You know, being professional at one level is much different than being a professional at a very low level in minor league baseball. That's why a lot of people never make it from minor league baseball to major league baseball. Like I said, something like 8% that even make it to the minor league systems. And out of that, only like 2% ever get called up to the parent team. And they're able to stay there. And yeah, people get traded, you know. But they get traded major league, not major league, minor league, and then they linger and flounder again, and then they finally give up after 4 or 5 years. Now they've gotten older, no team wants them. Age is caught up with them, their health is caught up with them, and no team wants a prospect that's, 32 years old. You know what I mean? They're like baseball players' career already is starting to come to an end when they get to their mid-30s. Many of them, it comes to an end by their mid-30s. You don't get many that play into their 40s, and not everybody plays football into their 40s like, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady did. You get these few rare exceptions, Brian knew when it was time. He had had a few injuries. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he even had that Tommy John surgery at one time. During his minor league stint with Pawtucket. And that's why they were kind of sketchy about it. They figured if you have that early in your career, they could come back to really haunt you. You could have a lingering problem. In his case, he never had a lingering problem with it. He never had any of the surgeries after that. But he said he was getting shoulder stiffness, rotator cuff, things like that. And he said, and he was already in it for a few years now. Now he's pushing 30 years old. He was like, you know what, enough's enough. There's other things I want to do. And that's what he went off to do. But he's done a lot for the community. He's well respected. Him, I call a professional baseball player. I can't name you one player that plays for the Pawtucket Red Sox in any of their A-ball, AA ball, or AAA ball. Can you name any minor league baseball players with whatever team that you follow? Do you even care to know who their minor league players are? Have you ever watched? Well, their games aren't shown on TV anyway because people don't give a fuck about minor league baseball. The only people that give a fuck about minor league baseball are the owners of the main franchise organizations, that they're using them as their farm system to develop them, hoping that one day they can come up and become their main attraction at their major league team level, at a position. You know what I mean? Anyway, wow, 36 fucking minutes. Holy shit. And I say some people on here need attention. I guess I needed a lot of fucking attention on here today too, huh? Well, I wasn't bringing it upon myself. I tried to stay out of the picture. Didn't concern me. Concerned other people that I think are noteworthy, and things that happen at times that I think should be brought to the public's attention, especially when it comes to drinking and driving and just drinking to excess in general. What happens to people, the harm, the death it causes, how it can ruin the lives of young people that have a bright future ahead in something, and drinking gets in the way and derails them and their life takes a turn for the worse. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now I think I've rambled on long enough. Have a great weekend. Have fun and stay safe.